New York, and on the new Hot 97 app. Ebro in the morning on Hot 97.
Ebro in the morning, Laura Stiles, Rosenberg. Give it up for W. Kamau Bell. We always have to say the W.
Just the first time. Then after that, we can drop.
Then we just go with Kamau. And we're good. All right. What's up, my guy?
You know, everything, nothing.
Listen, me and Kamau, we correspond on social media in our political. I don't even know what to call those things.
High-end activist influencer group that,
Yes, I don't even know what they are.
I don't
but
know
anyway,
what it is
it's a lot of people talking about a lot of, like Alyssa Milano will be in there like, today, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And
I understand. I've been left out of that group. Apparently, people don't think I'm a political influencer at all. They think I'm just the white man devil for some reason. Doesn't make any sense. I spent a whole life.
Can you be both? Can you be both?
Yeah,
No,
you can
well,
be
only
both.
as an operative.
You can be both.
But, I still want to be on the chat on the good side.
I'll get you in the chat.
Yeah, hook me up, bro.
Yeah, maybe Ebro's trying to keep you on the
well,
chat.
come on. He's like, obviously, I've known him all these years. He hasn't done anything. So
I didn't really think. Honestly, he hates social media, so why would I?
It's a very good point.
You're
I don't
not even
even
gonna
see it in the morning.
participate,
I don't have my own
why?
password, so I'd only be able to see it at 7 a.m. But
No, he legit hates social media. Though.
Oh,
I think it's sort of the downfall of the world. Yeah, but that's
Well, yeah, of course. We know that, but
We
it's
all know
also,
that.
you got to...
you got to do what you got to
You
do.
got to do what you got to do.
How do you feel about social media?
It's a means to an end, and you can't not to get caught up in it. I'm not arguing with anybody on Twitter anymore. I feel like when we first got to Twitter, it was like, it's fun to score points by arguing with people, and I got out of that game a long time ago. I mean, I use it a lot for promoting and activism. Like there's a site called Donors Choose where you can help support public schools, and that's probably a third of what I do on social media is trying to help kids get stuff in their classrooms. Yeah.
That's
But
dope.
you're not doing what Ebro's doing, fighting with eggs all day.
No, but I enjoy watching it.
Yeah, I get it in. I retweet them. Like they have 0 followers, but I just feel like it's like I'm like Jon Snow. I'm just practicing.
I wonder if
It's like
I wonder if
practice.
the day will ever come for you though. Because remember, we had Bomani Jones here recently, and Bomani told us that after years of it, he hit a point where for some reason the satisfaction went away.
Oh, yeah.
Of having those sort of interactions.
No, that went away. And also, I mean, I got, when I went to the Steve Harvey School of you can't have too many jobs. So at some point, I'm too busy to be like fighting with people with 0 followers.
That's
Yeah,
true.
just
because now you have 4th season of United Shades of America,
which premieres
You
Sunday.
Sunday.
on CNN. You have a radio show and podcast. Denzel Washington is the greatest actor of all time. Period.
Yep.
You have a book.
I wasn't familiar with the podcast. That's phenomenal. Your name game may be the strongest thing you have going.
I believe in the power of a good name.
You really do.
I'm not messing around. You got to do what it says on the tin.
The book that dropped May 2017, The Awkward Thoughts of W. Kamau Bell, Tales of a 6'4", African-American, heterosexual, cisgender, left-leaning, asthmatic, black and proud, blerd, mama's boy, dad, and stand-up comedian.
There you go. I couldn't think of any more words.
Another really good name.
Yeah.
And last year you did a Netflix special, Private School Negro.
There we go. That's
So, you're pretty busy.
happening. Yeah. And I got 3 daughters.
And 3 daughters.
daughters.
What's the age range?
7, 4, and 10 months.
Woo!
Yeah.
You really are busy.
Yeah. And I'm here, and they're all back in Oakland, so,
So where do you so you shoot everywhere? United Shades of America?
Yeah,
you move around.
You move around. It's a travel show.
So you could be wherever you want.
I could be wherever I want. That's why when I was living here when I had my first show, and when I got canceled, we decided to go back to the Bay. And the reason why I wanted the CNN job, because I was like, well, we can live anywhere. So, and we went to the Bay.
And what do you cover on the show?
This season, our premiere episode, really it's just about cultures in America that don't get enough attention or need to get more attention. So like this season, the season premiere is about mega churches, these in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
We have an episode about reproductive justice in Jackson, Mississippi. An episode about that's in Seattle and Tacoma called Not All White People, about white people activism. You'll enjoy it.
Yo, I can't wait, man.
Those are the allies. Those are the allies.
But it's the people who are like the redneck revolt, who are white people who are like liberal, but also Second Amendment advocates. So they show up with guns again to sort of show the alt-right, if you want to start something, this is what you're going to have to do.
We're not all the same way.
Yeah. And so,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they protect like Black Lives Matter protests and rallies, and it's white people who are like, so when white people are like, what can I do? This episode, like, here's what you can do.
It's
Show
almost
up with
With
your
your
guns.
gun?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So and Alicia Garza, who's one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter, is going to be in that one too. Because if there's anybody who's an expert on white people, it's her.
So
Interesting.
for you right now, with everything that I love the mega church episode.
Thanks.
and
I'm very interested in that. That's a very curious culture.
Well, because with what's going on with Israel, like so much funding comes, and money comes from these mega. What's the mega church in Texas that like believes that if they help Israel, they're going to somehow be entitled to the promised land when the rapture happens?
It's probably most of them.
Yeah, I think that's the whole the Christian right.
That's one of the defining things of evangelical Christianity is the support of Israel.
Which one was the mega church like when the hurricane hit?
That was Joel Osteen's.
And they weren't
nobody
checking
could
to
come
help
inside.
anybody.
Yeah. They had flooding in the parking lot, so they couldn't let people in, and then people put pressure on them, and they opened up the church. Yeah, so that church is in the old Houston, the Compaq Center, where the Houston Rockets used to play. That's how big that church is.
So what did you find? How many mega churches with thousands and thousands of people are there in Texas?
I mean, it's the hub, so it's every few miles you'll see another one. And the thing they do now is it's not that it's about like Joel Osteen has one big one, but now like we went to this place called Fellowship, and he has like 9 campuses spread out across Dallas. So some people go to a church and see him live. Other people go to a church and watch him on a screen.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
You go to church and watch TV.
Jumbotron.
Jumbotron.
You want a live stream? We got you.
and you can sit at home on your couch and watch it too. So yeah, so it's like every week 25,000 people go to a place in and around Dallas to watch him.
And how is it? Did you talk to people and find out how it is that people would prefer that church experience to just going to their regular local church?
Well, because especially like churches like these, they weren't built to look like churches. Like if you drive up to it, it looks like a mall.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it does. So it's a model that like makes church feel less like church. So like this guy's putting on a show. It's like it's not about. He's got like graphics. They have an in-house graphics team. He's telling jokes. I mean, it's like it's not. It makes church feel like one guy said it's more like a motivational speech with God sprinkled through.
Do they have like
this is like
VIP
WrestleMania.
sections?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and literally he has special guests. He has had wrestlers in his thing. So he is like it's more like a show than it is. Like it's closer to Kevin Hart than it is to your old mom and pop church.
Dude, that's crazy. If church was like Summer Jam, you never know who's going to come out.
It is like that.
It's white summer jam. Yeah,
They're just like, guess
It's
who's here
white
today?
religious summer jam.
white religious summer jam. That's
People
exactly
just
what it
pop
is.
out.
Yeah, people pay, and
And does he pay people to come show up, you think?
No.
People just want to.
It's about volunteering. I mean, here's the thing that's crazy. So that church we went to is Pastor Ed Young. There's a full service coffee shop in that church.
Wow.
Not like a coffee, like you can get a latte, mocha. Everybody who works in the coffee shop who has to get there before church starts and set up is working for free.
Wow.
Because that's part of your service for the church.
Right.
And meanwhile, like Pastor Ed, who's a nice guy, you Google him, he's worth $11 million. And he has a line of like casual fishing gear. And
this just in. Y'all being hustled.
But that's what I was trying to ask you earlier.
Breaking news.
Do
yeah.
they have like VIP areas for people who make generous donations?
That's a very good point.
I mean, they will. It's clear that if you have the money, that church experience can be whatever you want it to be, and they do good work. I mean, they can tell you all the work they do. But the thing with churches that we talk about in the episode is that because we separate, churches can't be taxed and can't be audited. You don't know where the money's going. So
Wait, I didn't know the can't be audited part.
No, you can't. You can't. Church. We've separated like the idea. So the Virginia Baptists back in the day said we shouldn't tax churches because we don't know, because churches want to be doing the good work, and why should we take money from them? They had no idea that mega churches were coming. So there's just all this money going through the church, and nobody knows what. And the people who determine what the preachers make is like a separate like council of preachers who determine what should we make, and nobody knows what that number is.
All right, so
This just in. Y'all being hustled.
Oh,
I
my
understand
goodness.
the no taxing part.
I don't.
Which, well, not
At a
with
certain level.
At a certain level.
Yeah, no, that's
A certain
exactly.
level.
Just like you shouldn't tax people who aren't making a lot of money in life. You know,
Exactly.
Yeah.
But particularly, even more astonishing to me than no taxing is no auditing.
Yeah.
Because so then you're saying you can just have people get together in these huge groups that look like corporations, and you have no idea what they're doing.
That's the issue, is that there's no sense of like where the money's going. There's no like they're not human resources and that kind of thing. So that like we talked to a woman in the episode who like in her church was being raised to be to marry one of the older members of the church. So she's like 16. And part of their church culture was like, we're raising you to be his wife. And where do you go when your church is doing that? Because you're supposed to go to your church when you're having a hard time.
Right.
So like
What the church is doing.
when the church is
No,
like,
that's
and there's
straight Game of Thrones.
So there's no like here, if somebody's doing that, there's like an HR department. You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
were raising somebody to be, they would say, hey, we got to talk to you. But there's no
This
churches
is criminal.
Yeah, so they are doing good work. They can tell you about the good work they're doing. My thing is like, if you want to make your preacher rich, that's fine. I also feel like we should be able to go, can we see what's happening in here with the money? Because
Michael
it's millions
Jackson
of
thought he
dollars.
was doing good work.
Yeah, and
He was helping kids.
Yeah.
Thought he was helping kids.
He did help some kids.
I'm sure he helped
and that's
a lot
the
of
problem.
kids.
Is like these people are helping people too. They can show you when they went to Haiti and
Absolutely.
did the thing, but both things can be true.
But what
you know?
exactly?
That's the thing I think we have to
Thank you.
realize in the 21st century. Both things can be true.
Yeah.
You know, you can write some
amazing
banging
music.
jams.
You can help a bunch of kids,
And
and
you
then
can
you
also-
might do the wrong thing with some kids.
Yeah. So I think that it's funny. I was just hanging out with Dream Hampton last night, and the same thing came up. That like both things can be true at once. Bill Cosby's another example. We have to stop thinking that it's one or the other. And I think a lot of times, especially with black people, we have these heroes, which I understand. Bill Cosby was my hero, and we think that if you criticize them for the wrong things they do, then you have to throw away the other things. I feel like no, both things can be true at once.
Well, with Bill Cosby, you don't know Bill. You knew Cliff Huxtable.
Yeah.
You didn't know Bill Cosby.
Well, it's different. Some people, like an aspiring comedian like Kamau, felt like you did know Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
We all felt like
But
we
through
knew
the
Bill
stand-up
Cosby.
specials is even different than the Cliff Huxtable thing. Like you actually were sort of
Bill
into
Cosby
Bill.
was trying to tell you he was trying to create the idea that he was Cliff Huxtable even before he was Cliff Huxtable.
Right.
So I think, but for me, it's like we just have to be able to hold contracting ideas in our head, and I
That
think a lot of
both can
times,
exist.
they both can exist.
Yeah, that's me. Shawnee and I argue all the time because Shawnee always thinks that I am perceived in the streets these days as being Mr. Anti-Michael Jackson when I actually am an obsessive Michael Jackson fan. Came out to a Michael Jackson song that most people don't even know at my wedding. Love his music, but was like, well, we're not going to ignore the documentary, right? That we
Yeah.
have to really look this in the
Well,
face.
I just
and
got
see
my
what it is.
my 7-year, my 4-year-old into Michael Jackson music, like as part of like this is how you be black because they're mixed, and I want to make sure they don't think it's just the Dixie Chicks and Garth Brooks. So yeah, this was a part
This
of
is how you be
this
black.
is part of their black education, as I call it.
Right.
So and it's like and I knew all this stuff, and the minute that Michael Jackson was sitting on that bed years ago in that documentary holding that little boy's hand that wasn't related to him, I was like, oh, that's a wrap on that, So, but he had died and all that stuff, and so now I'm like, how do we do this, And I
Well,
think they
you
can still
just-
enjoy the music, and at some point I go,
but that's
also
my
this.
point. Is
Right,
just
also
the
this.
music is there. You don't know. We don't know Mike like that. We knew the music. You don't know Bill Cosby like that. You think you know these people. You don't. You're not in their bedroom at night. You don't know them, and people gotta continue to remember that. Speaking of stand-up comedy,
Yes, sir.
evaluate Trump's ability to entertain.
I had no idea it was
a
going
crowd.
that direction. I was like, yeah.
Because we talk all
we
the time
marvel
on the
at
show.
this. The man does 2-hour stand-up specials on a regular
No,
basis.
that's why he won, is because he's a great live performer. Like, forget what he's saying. That's why he was able to marshal his base, is because he was we can say he's a better stand-up comic than Hillary was.
Yes.
No, Hillary has all
Well,
the
that
facts
wasn't
and
even
figures.
fair.
Yeah.
that
I mean, it's
wasn't
like,
fun.
you don't want to. I don't want to follow Trump at a rally. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain comics I'm like, I'm not following that guy. And Trump's one of the people that you don't want to follow. Trump. He is a great stand-up comic. He's like a Chappelle level stand-up comic.
Yo, and his ability to make shit up on the fly is incredible.
And just to
It's
talk
magic-
for 2 hours.
Yes.
Like that, most comics cannot talk extemporaneously for 2 hours. He can just go. That's what I mean, Chappelle level. Chappelle can go for like 5.
Right.
Yeah.
But think about this. He can go almost as long as Chappelle with probably a tenth of Chappelle's vocabulary.
Oh,
So how do you do that with 90 words?
Yeah, exactly. Repeating words. Yeah. No, well, that's catchphrases. That's
Yeah,
what catchphrases
over
are
and
for.
over. But so
He's got crowd response. You seen his crowd response game? His call and response to the
Yeah,
crowd.
yeah.
Like,
Oh, what?
it's
Yeah.
heavy. Catchphrases and
That's
shit.
why I think Democrats have to be. It's not. There's all these smart people who are running, but you better find somebody who can go toe to toe.
That's been my number one thing.
It's not about. I would like it to be the smartest, most progressive person personally, but you got to find somebody who can go toe to toe with them. And I don't see a lot of people on that side who can.
So
do that.
who does that sound like to you?
Right now I feel like I just want it to be like Thunderdome. Just everybody get in there and battle it out. I will vote for whoever comes out of that. Either I'll be like, yay, or like, so I'm going to vote for whoever it is, but I think Kamala Harris has that.
I saw a clip on her finally yesterday with her talking about I forget what her plans were, but she was going off on somebody.
Yeah, no, she at the
was
Kavanaugh
and I
hearing,
was
she
like,
came
okay,
up.
she's
Yeah.
letting it fly. Like
Yeah.
she's about to start letting it fly.
Yeah.
And not going for the I feel like she might be like, yo, check this out, do the neck roll, black woman neck roll with a finger. Yo.
See, if
And
we could
point.
get that, I haven't watched enough Kamala to know that that's there. That would excite me about her because you need someone who's able to have an entertainment value.
Yeah, who knows that it's a show.
Now listen, we know
Biden.
That's why Biden's an instant front runner, no matter what you think of him.
A little bit of Biden goes a long way. As soon as Biden starts talking, at some point he says something, we're like, yeah, no, Joe, that's not. We don't say that no more.
Isn't that crazy though? That you worry that somehow Biden, as accomplished and as smart as he likely is, is more likely to put his foot in his mouth than even Trump is.
Oh, yeah.
Trump has learned
Well, he can't-
how to
Trump-
talk and not truly put his foot in his mouth.
But Trump's base doesn't care if he puts his foot
And
in his mouth.
and his- and
They
the
go
base
like this.
doesn't matter.
He put his foot in his mouth. Did you see it?
Yo, I
He's
can't believe
human.
it.
He's relatable.
But
They'll make any
Biden, yeah.
excuse for
His
him.
base won't go. We won't go for that. If
We
he
won't go
says
for that.
something,
Well, that's part of the problem with the Democrats, guys.
Yeah.
Is Democrats think there's like this perfect human politician that's going to roll out and have no flaws.
well, we had
do
one. We just had one. President Obama was a perfect human politician.
And that happens it's like the golden child once every
That's
10,000
not very
years.
When he
common.
and then when he got in the White House, everybody had a bunch of problems with him anyway. 'Cause
Well,
he
yeah,
didn't
but
get
we
his-
don't care about that at this point. We just want someone in the White House.
Yeah.
And I think everyone would settle for another 8 years
But
of
I think
Obama.
that's part of the problem. He got in the White House and lost the House and the Senate 2 years in, and it was a fucking disaster for the next fucking 6 years. So we got to do more than just go for the president. That's another big problem. Is we get enamored by this presidential race and we ignore all of the things that set up for us to even have this Trump problem in the first place.
I mean, I really think we shouldn't even be paying attention to the presidential race right now. I think the thing that I feel like I've learned from this era of America is that you have to be paying attention to your community because you can help your community. And that stuff is just the show. That's the WWE. You know what I mean? Until it's time to go vote, or until we're really at the convention. And I think right now, because we're treating it like a sports season. So this is like the preseason. Don't pay attention to the preseason.
Yeah, exactly. Why are you paying attention to
yeah.
scrimmages?
Yeah, LeBron scored 50 in Iowa City. It's not the time to pay attention.
That's a
and
great
so
point.
for me, it's like the thing that is like you can really make impacts in your community. It's like AOC is an example of like a bartender who's like, okay, I got to do something. And I think we should all be taking that approach and not even be Biden, Buttigieg, whatever. All those people, let them figure it out for now.
That's a great point.
Don't get caught up in team sports now.
It's way too early.
You
We're
think
2 years
Trump
away.
should be impeached right now? You think that should be the wave?
I mean, yes, and also who cares? I think yes, absolutely. I wish the Democrats were excited about pushing back on him on any level. If impeachment is a thing, obviously, as I learned, impeachment doesn't mean you have to leave the White House. Bill Clinton was impeached, and he's like, I'm still here. So I think the Democrats, anything they do to stand up to him, I don't like the fact that anytime there's any talk of like this is the leadership of standing up to Trump, they're sort of like
Pelosi
Nancy
or
Pelosi's
anybody.
like, well, and so for me, that's not helpful.
I don't understand. Every time I remember that Bill Clinton in 1998 was actually impeached,
Yeah.
I get blown away again because I go, this is how bad the Democrats are at politics. President Clinton was able to be impeached over a blowjob. They found a way to do it. There's nothing here. The Democrats are like, I'm sorry, we just cannot figure out a way to impeach this man. But the Republicans figured out how to do it to Clinton over essentially nothing
Well,
that has anything to do with
they
the
also
House.
had the Senate and the House. I mean, there were some other things going in their favor.
But you could at least give it a shot. At least
But
they
then
don't
there's
even.
the danger, and I think this is a valid point. There's the danger that you get a unanimous House thing, you can't get the Senate done. It martyrs Trump going into his run in 2020, and they're afraid of this man.
But I
They're
think that's-
afraid of this man's ability to get his base up.
He's already got his base up.
And he's got, look, I don't care what half these billionaires say. They're happy right now. All these fucking people are liars, bro. The market is fucking all-time highs. People, because just like here in New York State, the fake fucking liberals, right? Like we always talk about these fake liberals in New York State that think they're so progressive. Meanwhile, we have the most fucking racially segregated public school system in the country, but we're so progressive. You guys are liars. You're liars.
Right, and
And when
they're
it
probably
comes down
happy,
to it, you're walking in that ballot box and you're fucking checking Trump because you know it's going to help your personal bank account.
I mean, you just had Jack from Twitter yesterday go meet with Trump. And he's a Bay Area guy, whatever, sort of Bay Area guy. But like in there meeting with Trump about how we can have more civility on Twitter. And it's like you went to go meet with that dude. Like you went to sit down with to talk to him as if you're on the same plane and as if he has reasonable things to say. There's too much capitulation from the left and people who are for Trump, especially from leadership and also from billionaires.
And do you think there's any chance that in that meeting, Jack was like, hey, listen, I got to talk to you about something. You need to calm down your rhetoric. It's dangerous. It's stirring fears against and hatred towards Muslims.
course he did.
We need to really work on this.
Most-
He
Yeah,
said
okay.
nothing. He sat
Most
there.
of the people
All right.
who own stock in Twitter support Trump. He's not fucking with his stock price.
No, I think there's no. The thing I don't like is that we've lost the political will for justice among the leadership. That whether impeachment is a good idea or a bad idea, it's certainly an idea that should be looked at, and certainly we should be concentrating on what can we do to get this man to sort of handle this man as soon as possible. As far as like, how do we get? Is it the right candidates? Is it impeachment? Is it censorship? Whatever it is, there's all these things that are available to the Democrats, but they're sort of like. there's always this like, well, tomorrow, down the line. And I don't think that's inspiring. So I don't think that's inspiring to people. So no matter what candidate you get, if it feels like they're not full-throated going after him, it's not inspiring. And then you end up in the same position we're in right now. I think it's very likely he could win again.
Very likely.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that I always
and I don't know if he
people,
wants to win. I think he'd rather go back to
he didn't want to
Mar-a-Lago.
be president in the
Yeah,
first place.
Yeah.
The only thing that makes me feel halfway decent is he didn't win the popular vote, and Hillary basically lost it. And I think that people, it would be I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but it's basically an indictment on him and his rhetoric. Like even you said, I don't care who the person is running up against him. I think there's a lot of people there. It's like, get him out of here.
Yeah.
By any means necessary.
But I also think it's a time for big ideas, because that's why impeachment is one thing. But I think we also have to seriously talk about like dismantling the Electoral College as a way in which we bring people to. Like you don't use that system in any other system in your life where we counted the votes and then we also decided what we wanted to do after that. Like that doesn't happen in mayor elections, doesn't happen in dog catcher. Somehow.
Like, I think it's like the NCAA tournament or the NCAA football, like where they're like, okay, here's the best 10. We're gonna pick 4.
Yeah,
right. We got it. Don't worry.
Yeah. I mean, I
It's
think
like
it's
the only other place,
and it's also which is tied directly to like slaveholder math. Like that's why the Electoral College exists, and yet we're still using it as a way to pick the president. So I think to me, it's like a big idea time. It's a time to connect with your communities, and a time to have big ideas about how to change this country. And I think right now there's too many half steps and small steps among leadership.
Speaking of big ideas, one of the a real innovator, I think, in the kind of television you're doing was Anthony Bourdain.
He's the king.
And I was beyond late to the party. He was a classic example of always heard he was great. He died.
Oh, I was watching the show when you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I watched the show a lot.
When I noticed how people reacted, and I was so affected. So I was like, let me go watch the show. And I was like, oh man, I get it. This guy was so great.
Yeah.
Did you have any overlap in interaction with him in your time at CNN?
Yes, I did. You are real late to the party. I did an episode with him.
Beyond. No. You know what? I take that back. I already knew that.
Yeah.
So
What was the episode?
Where did you guys go again?
We went to Kenya.
Right.
Kamau is a Kenyan name. I'm not Kenyan. I'm like, I'm West African like most of us out here. But we went to Kenya. He had never been to Kenya before. And it was like so we hung out for 11 days in Kenya, and then we went on safari outside of Nairobi.
So that's really spending time with this man.
We were 11 days, like not only filming, but like in the car on the way to and from set, like hanging out. He was very much a guy who hung out a lot, so hanging out after the shoots.
Was this leading to the start of your show?
This was last year. So when I first got my show, I didn't meet him until the Emmys. And I saw him across the room. And I've been liking him since he was on the Travel Channel. He's been a huge influence. And so I walked over to him, and he was like, and I didn't know if he even knew who I was, because why would he be watching TV? He's living his life. But he was like, we got to do something together. And I was like, okay. So then every time I would see him after that at random CNN things, he'd be like, we got to do something together. And then finally, our boss from CNN, Amy Antelis, was like, well, where do you want to go? And she was like, you can go all over the world. And I was like, I've never been to Kenya. And he was like, I haven't been to Kenya either, which was crazy. And then we spent like 11 days in Nairobi and Kenya. And he was like available to answering any questions. We hung out all the time. He talked about his daughter a lot. He was excited about his new relationship. He was like, he gave me a lot of advice about how to produce TV that directly affects the season of United Shades.
So how taken aback then were you by the way he passed?
I was taken aback. He didn't, and everybody in his life who I know who is much closer to him, I were all taken aback. So nobody was like, he seemed like a guy who was going to do that. But also the thing I know, and this is from being a comic and having lost friends or comics I know, that life of being on the road is hard, and it's, even if you're having a great time, it's lonely when you go back to your hotel room at the end of the night by yourself. And I also know that mental illness can creep up in an instant. And I've known people who, I just lost somebody else a couple months ago from suicide that everybody was surprised by. So for me, it's like, it's one of those issues that we need to talk about that issue in America. But so I wasn't surprised in the fact that somebody would kill themselves, even if it was him. It was just sad to see him go. Because I felt like we were just building a friendship. And he was like, when am I going to do your show? And I was like, I was like, whenever you want to, And so I felt like he gave me his number. And I was in New York a couple of times, and I just never called him because I didn't want to be annoying. And I was like, I should have been annoying.
Yeah, but it's a strange loss when you're building a friendship with someone and they go. It's sort of
That's
weird.
why I want to be clear about that, because people think because we were on CNN and back to back that we were like hanging out all the time. And if you watch the episode in Kenya, you're watching us build a friendship and us get to know each other.
Wow.
And it was super powerful. And my wife woke me up that morning and was just like, check your phone, or like she said Anthony killed himself, and she's like, and I just grabbed my phone as I did and like saw the CNN alert, and I was like, I know this is real. And yeah, and so there's a picture I had I have the shirt of that when I met him at the Emmys. It's the first one we met of me and him standing next to each other, and I just looked like I won a contest, and so I made it into a T-shirt, and just as a tribute to to remember that moment of like, this is a guy I used to sit on my girlfriend, now my wife's couch, watching that, going, how do you do that? How do you make a show like that? And to then be following him on CNN, it's like. It's a crazy dream, and then to feel like we were like a team because people saw us as like a tag team. You know, I had more years of hanging out with him ahead of me, and so I feel really lucky that I got to do his show before he left us.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's have heavy Blerd talk, black nerd talk.
Okay,
Let's
all
go.
right.
Where's your level? Where do you rank yourself on Blerd level?
Like a college professor who doesn't teach at the school anymore but still gets a check, like a Blerd emeritus. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I
That's
think
high level.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty high
That's
level,
the highest level.
But I'm not like because I feel like I'm of the age where I was a Blerd before there was a word. So I feel like I was like,
We were talking about that before you got here. When did that become a word?
The first time I heard it was probably when I was in New York like 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
Was when somebody wrote about the show, Totally Biased. I did and go, he's like, and called me a Blerd, and I was like, oh, is that what I am? All right.
I just realized now in the last 5 seconds talking about it that Gambino said on the record too. Donald Glover appropriately used that word at some point too.
yeah.
But besides that, I hadn't really heard it that much.
And do you have a specialty in your Blerdness, like an area that you're really known for in your
I think
in your blurting?
I think for me, my blurting. For example, to me, part of being a Blerd is just being really open about the things you get really excited about.
Okay.
So for me and my friend Kevin Avery, we're going to start a podcast that is about how Denzel Washington is the greatest actor of all time. Period. And that's all it is. We're not.
How many episodes have you done of this podcast?
We were reviewing every Denzel Washington movie. So we only have a few left. So that's over 50 or so. You know,
Wow.
and we've had. We've had Ava DuVernay on there talking about how about her love of
that's
Denzel.
tight, that's tight.
We have everybody give their top 5 Denzel movies, and you have to do them in order from 5 to 1. Yeah. Let's do it. And we've had Ryan Coogler after he did Creed came on and talked about his favorite Denzel. He did 6 because he was like, I'm gonna do 6 because I'm Ryan Coogler.
Now, have you spent any time with Denzel?
No, I saw him once, and then at one point they just in a hallway in a thing in L.A. years ago, and then at one point when Fences was about to come out, his people reached out to figure out how to coordinate a thing, and I'm pretty sure that they were they got it in front of him. He was like, I'm not doing that shit. I'm pretty sure, and I respect Denzel. The podcast is based on the fact we love him. He does not have to love us, and
Yes.
if he ever sent word to us to stop doing it, we would stop doing it in a second. Nobody would.
Immediately.
Yeah, no. It's about a respect for him. It's not about some sort of stalker. I got to be his friend.
How do you feel about his son? He's
His
killing
son's
it.
amazing, and I feel like it's
Yeah.
so. He was a football player, so
Yeah.
clearly he wasn't even trying to be an actor. But and you can see traces of Denzel in him, but also he's his own dude. So yeah, his son's amazing. Yeah.
Do you have? Did you have any problem at the time, or maybe even now, that he won the Oscar for Training Day?
That happens a lot, even with white actors, where they run for the wrong thing. So he should have won. He lost for Malcolm X. To Hoo-Ha, Scent of a Woman, which that's not Pacino's greatest performance either.
That's a
great point.
So I think that happens a lot. It looks weirder. But I think Training Day is a great performance.
Yes.
It is
That's
one of his all-time. So you don't have to. I think a lot of times it happens with black people where the message of the movie isn't good, and we don't want to be highlighting that thing. But I feel like it's a great movie.
That was always my thing when people were upset about Training Day. I was like, I hear it. I get why you'd be bummed that he didn't win for Malcolm X. But his performance in Training Day, it may be in the top 2 or 3 performances of his career.
And I think it absolutely is. It's no question.
Glory and Malcolm X are probably glorious.
Yeah, I think Glory and Training Day are similar in that they're both characters you're supposed to hate. Or
Right.
Glory and Training Day.
Yeah.
You're supposed to hate those guys, and you're like, I like this guy. You
I
know what I
know.
mean? So I think that's why it's great, because not very few actors can pull off such hateable characters, and you're still like, I'm rolling with Denzel. Fences is like that too. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
I hate that guy, but I'm like, keep yelling at your son. This is good.
Yell the shit out of that kid. He deserves it.
Yeah, you don't have to love him. Yeah. So I think that's a talent that Denzel has, and I think he doesn't get. The reason we did the podcast because it was like whenever mainstream society talks about the greatest actors, it is inevitably white guys. It's not even usually women. So for us, it was like he's clearly in that same category. And if anything has held him out of that category, it's just the pull of racism that he can't do the same mainstream roles that these other white actors
Right.
can. He's not going to get those Leonardo DiCaprio roles, even when he was in his heyday. So therefore, we have to. Our thing was we want to elevate him to that discussion because when he dies, everybody's going to do it.
Yes.
It's going to be like he's going to
100%.
Yeah. And I just feel like,
Absolutely.
why do we got to wait for people to die?
Well, for a long time with Denzel, his name was synonymous with being good looking. That was more the thing. It's like, oh, well, he's no Denzel Washington, right? Like he was handsome. And particularly, I know among white people, he was a black man that you could point out as being definitively handsome was Denzel Washington.
He was old school Idris Elba.
Exactly.
Like now white people, Idris Elba, I mean, that one's a good one.
That's a really great point.
Yeah.
And then as time goes on, you're like, this is one of the best actors in the world.
It's just not. It's just, and he's sort of hamstrung by his good looks because he's so good looking that it's like people forget how good an actor is. But it's just like, if you watch Glory is a great example of a movie where you're like, you forget that it's Denzel, and it's like, and you know, and I think
Malcolm X.
I mean, yeah, I watch.
Some people think that's what Malcolm X.
Well, that's the problem.
Exactly.
It's unfair to the legacy of Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Because then you start really watching Malcolm X and you're like, oh my God, what a phenomenal individual. So smart, so talented. Not as good looking and charismatic
He's
as
no
Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington. If Denzel had been Malcolm X might have won. Black people might be running this country
the whole world would have been different if it was just Denzel.
That's so crazy. I was sitting here, my mind was spinning on how white America points out the one good-looking black guy.
Yeah.
They're like, that guy, right? He's the one.
Yeah,
there's only be one.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing about Denzel is I do college shows a lot, and I have this show, the W. Kamau Bell Curve, Ending Racism in About an Hour. It's another good title.
Your title
King. Just wrote this down. The K is for King.
Yeah. So, and I will show talk about people about how racism is all throughout society, and talk about People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive, and they've been doing it over 30 years, and the only men of color have been Denzel, Idris Elba, who's recently, and The Rock, and a lot of white people are like, "What? He's a person of color?" You know, like because he keeps it high and tight. So a lot of white people don't know. They just think he's tanned all the time, and so it's like the idea that like when I show Denzel Washington to like college kids. Even your college girls like woo, and he's like a 60-year-old man now. You know, he's like the gold standard. You know.
Yeah, he's got it.
Yeah,
and always has.
Yeah.
Before we let you out of here, you excited for Avengers this weekend?
Oh yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah. I mean, but the thing I have because I have such young kids, a lot of times I can't get there right away. But
so you know what I'm doing?
What are you doing?
I'm leaving work early on Friday.
Oh.
Because my daughter will be at school.
Good dad.
I'm going to the movies.
She'll never be the wiser.
Are you more Marvel or Game of Thrones?
Oh, I'm not even a little bit Game of Thrones.
Wow.
Oh.
So why? What happened?
Whoa.
Is that just because you're on Sunday night up against it? Or?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm also not the Warriors because they're on Sunday nights. No, I'm
But you never even gave it a shot?
I never gave it a shot. It just, I mean, there's things that just, I get it. I get why people, I get it. I understand it. I'll accept it, but I'm not even, it just felt like, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, white nonsense to me at first. And now I get that it's not. I accept that there's the,
we just found out this past episode that in one of the towns that everybody had the most beloved character in it, they're fucking racist because the black characters were like walking through Winterfell,
have there been black
and the
characters?
kids were like, there's been
There's
3 or
very
4
few.
black characters in a whole fucking
And I'm not
thing.
mad. You make the universe you want to make. I just don't have to support the thing. So for me, it just felt like, and so
No, you're absolutely right in your feeling.
I'm too deep into it. I'm too deep out of it, but I'm not. So I'm definitely more Marvel than Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Game of Thrones is phenomenal, though.
I hear it. I just, people tell you Sopranos is good too.
You never watched Sopranos?
I never got to.
You know what I didn't watch because of racism?
Yeah, see, thank you. See, when you say these things, some people step up with you, and yeah.
You know what
for
I
not
didn't
watching
watch?
Sopranos?
I watched Sopranos, but I wasn't OD. I never watched, what's the shit with the motorcycle gangs?
Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of
That's not in the same
Anarchy.
category, though.
Yeah.
I never
Sons
got
of
into
Anarchy was a
that.
great show, but it's not in the same category. Sopranos
I'm not
changed
saying-
television permanently. I mean,
No, I
in
know
terms
for
of
those reasons, but the reasons I never got into it is because of what he's talking about with Game of Thrones. I never got into Sons of Anarchy
Because it was white
I
nonsense.
didn't want to see white nonsense.
And I'm not
racist
mad.
bikers.
I've watched
They're
my
cool.
share of white nonsense.
Right.
I'm
You
married
just
to
have
a
to
white
pick
woman.
your-
I just have to
You have to pick your battles and what they
exactly.
are. And in Game of Thrones also, let's be honest, if you even had a fleeting moment where you thought about it, it's so dense that the idea of being like, let me throw it on real quick
Yeah,
is not
when
an
I know
option.
I'm 2 seasons in, and like you don't even understand. Okay, then I'll just.
Well, then I'm not gonna understand.
Well, it's like with Mad Men. I just held on until everybody stopped talking about it, and then I didn't have to watch it.
Oh, that you missed out on, though. Mad Men.
See,
so good.
where's
Mad
your
Men,
show? When can I go on your
By
show?
the way, you spotted the
Mad
Blerd
Men-
in the room.
He's a Blerd too.
Yeah.
Mad Men I jumped in and out of. I wasn't there in the beginning. I jumped in the middle, and then I left early.
I don't even understand doing that. That to me, that doesn't even make sense. What kind of way are you even living your life?
Well,
I didn't
Mad
give it a
Men, but
chance either.
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad is white nonsense I can get behind.
All right,
Yeah,
so you
that
did
was
it all the
that
way.
was
Okay.
that was
That's
undeniable.
the greatest
I think
shit.
even Shawnee watched Breaking Bad.
100%.
Yeah.
I love that show.
He
Shawnee
just saw
watches
it, too.
nothing.
He
But
just
that's
said-
the best white nonsense because he's selling dope and he might go to jail. You know what I'm saying? So you never really get to see white men in that role of like having to make the decision, the family decision. Like, yo, shit is rough out here for my family, so I'm gonna make a decision to save my family and sell some dope.
Listen, while we're all saying the things that we haven't watched, the thing that makes people literally drop their jaw and be offended by to even know me is that I've never completed The Wire. I tell people that, and they go literally like,
It's not The Wire either.
I didn't complete The Wire.
it's literally like,
What do you watch?
I mean, it's fun. I actually watch a lot of documentaries. I think this is the
it's a documentary era right now.
documentary era, and I was sort of in this before it was the documentary era. I realized that about myself. Like, I think I just really watched nonfiction documentaries. Like, I'm not. So I mean, but I watch The Good Place.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's not white nonsense.
Do you watch wrestling?
No. I mean, not mad at it, but
you didn't.
yeah.
You don't watch.
But I will like when things happen, like when like big WWE events, I like will track them on Twitter just to see what's happening.
Just 'cause you're curious.
I'm just curious. Yeah. No, I'm sort of curious about everything. So I'm
What
like,
about sports?
NBA?
NBA,
Yeah.
straight, are you a big Warriors fan?
Yeah, big Warriors fan, and I lived in Chicago during the Jordan era. So as far as I'm concerned, this is all fun. But that was when it was happening.
And so you have a very clear stance on LeBron versus Michael.
It's not even worth talking about.
Right.
Yeah, it's Michael's the best basketball player of all time. LeBron is one of the greatest basketball players of all time.
That's a
Smart way to put it.
I'm not mad at LeBron. But
How could you be?
Yeah, but I couldn't.
seems
I mean,
like a way better dude than MJ was, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think. Well, here's the thing. I sports hate LeBron. I don't hate LeBron. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like
right.
I don't like. I hate on him as a sports guy, but I don't. He's doing more work than I will ever be able to do.
Yes,
and I think he's an example of like look to your community. So I think that's that, and he's going to be a billionaire. He's an amazing TV producer, but he doesn't take the ball enough in the clutch.
I had a thought a few minutes ago that slipped away that I want to mention because you were having the conversation about how white people would like point out Denzel Washington as the good-looking person, and I realized something that puts me in an uncomfortable place as a white person is when I point out a woman of color as being very attractive who's famous, and the white people all disagree, and even if their reasoning, they obviously aren't saying like, excuse me, she's not white. They have whatever, oh no, I'm not really into it. And I inherently feel a real way about it. It happened recently with Rihanna. I was just like, I mean, Rihanna to me is like, the sexiest woman alive. Yeah. And the 2 or 3 white people, they're like, I don't see it. And I was just like,
But fucking racist.
I know, that's what I thought.
You fucking KKK.
I don't understand. Rihanna?
Who are you hanging out with?
I know that, but that's what I thought. I was like,
That's the bigger question.
I was like, but you have eyes. I know for a fact that you're heterosexual, and you're not a eunuch. This isn't Game of Thrones. And you see Rihanna, and you just see like.
You got to get a better class of white people around you. That's what I take away from that story. Like,
So you would feel, but would you feel a way about that?
I would feel a way about that. Yeah, because I feel like first of all, you don't have to. Everybody can like what they like,
right?
And you don't have to tell people, well, I don't like what you. I feel like that's a social media thing too. I like this thing. You're dumb to like that thing. So I feel like you don't have to have an opinion about it. But Rihanna, it's also like.
But men have a tendency to do that, right? Like a woman comes on a screen and you say, "Oh, ex actress or actor. Wow, I think she's beautiful."
Women do it too.
Well, of course, women do it too.
Of course we do. But
I'm just not privy to those conversations. And then men will weigh in and be like, yeah or no.
Yeah.
And when I got just back-to-back no's on Rihanna, I was like, I feel like even if women were here, they'd be like, yes, Rihanna.
yeah, but not even like, yeah, she's hot, not my type, but she's hot. You can at least acknowledge that.
Or just good for you. Like, I don't know why we got. Yeah, I think.
That's a good point. I should have just said, you know what? She's good enough for me.
But I think
if she was interested.
Who's your social circle?
Maybe I need to reassess.
That's what I would do in that situation.
Right.
I'm hanging out with the wrong people.
W. Kamau Bell, man. This Sunday, United Shades of America is back on. The opening episode is Mega Churches.
Yeah.
Yo, man, thank you for coming by the program.
Thanks
I know
for having
we've
me.
been
It's an
working
honor
on
to
this
be
You
show.
are always welcome.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thank you very much. Give it up one time, man.